I want to discuss how to ask questions in French. So there are different forms of questions, sentences, and words that you would use to ask questions. So that's what I want to talk about today. I'll go straight to sharing my screen and we'll look at different ways of asking questions. Okay, here I have interrogative forms or words that you would use to ask questions in French. The first and easiest way of asking a question in French is just by changing the intonation of your sentence. Okay? Intonation is how your voice rises and goes down and so on. An example of a sentence, we'll just take a simple sentence like tu vas au marché. You're going to the market. Sorry. Okay? Tu vas au marché. That's a sentence. Tu vas au marché. Now, to negate this sentence, all you need to do is change the intonation. Instead of saying it as tu vas au marché, you'll say tu vas au marché. So marché has a higher intonation than the rest of the sentence. Tu vas au marché. And that way it has become a question. Then the second way is by using the words est-ce. Est-ce doesn't have direct translation. Like in English, it would be difficult to have the direct translation of it, of that sentence, that word. But it's something something that almost sounds like is, or is it, or something like that. An example of a sentence, the same sentence that we had in the previous format for intonation, tu vas au marché. Now, if we want to use that sentence, if we want to ask it using est-ce, we'll say, est-ce que tu vas au marché? Okay, let me write this down to look funny. Est-ce que tu vas au marché? Are you going to the market? Okay. Are you going to the market? Est-ce que tu vas au marché? This is how you'd use est-ce. Okay. Then the third way is by inverting the subject and the verb. Okay, the original sentence was tu vas marcher. And this is the verb, this is the subject, the person who's doing the going to the market. The verb is the going to the market. Okay, tu vas au marché. Now, to invert this, you'll say vas-tu au marché? Vas-tu au marché? We've just inverted the verb and the subject, or the subject pronoun in this case. Vas-tu au marché? Are you going to the market? Then the fourth way is using expressions such as the WH question words. We know these in English, and in French we have for who, you'll say qui. An example of a sentence, let's say, qui va au marché? Who's going to the market? Qui va au marché? Okay. And we also have what, which is quoi. Okay. Quoi. Maybe this person is going to the market to bring something or to buy something. Okay. You can ask them, tu vas au marché? Let sentence work. Okay. Let's say you want to ask them what they're going to buy at the market. Tu vas acheter quoi au marché? Tu vas acheter. Sorry, this is infinitive. Tu vas acheter quoi au marché? What are you going to buy at the market? Okay. Then, où, which means where. Okay. Make sure when you're writing où to mean where, make sure you have the accent at the top here. Où without the accent is the French word for or. Make sure you have the accent. Now, you can ask someone, tu vas où? Tu vas où? Same sentence, where are you going? They can tell you, je vais au marché, and so on. But tu vas au marché, or tu vas où? Where are you going? Then when is quand. Okay? Maybe you want to ask this person, when are you going to the market? Then you'll ask, quand vas-tu au marché? Quand vas-tu au marché? When are you going to the market? Quand vas-tu au marché? Then we have why, which is pourquoi. You can ask someone, pourquoi vas-tu au marché? Why are you going to the market? Pourquoi vas-tu au marché? Why are you going to the market? Then we have quel. Okay, so quel means which, and all the different forms of quel that are written here, they're pronounced as quel. So this is quel, 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 quel. They're all pronounced the same way, but they're written differently. So the difference is the first quel is used for masculine singular. If you're asked because when you're talking about which, you're asking about a noun. Okay, which book, which pen, which market, and so on. When you use the first one, you're using it for masculine singular nouns. Then the second one is for feminine singular nouns. Then the third one for masculine plurals. And then the last one for feminine plurals. Let's look at an example of a sentence. You can say, tu veux quel stylo? Which pen do you want? Pen is masculine, and we are only asking about one pen. So we'll use quel. Let's say now you want to ask about a house. Quelle maison achetez-vous? Quelle maison achetez-vous? Which house are you buying? Okay, so here maison is feminine, and now we use quelle will with double L and E. Okay, now let's say this person wanted more than one pen. Then you'll ask, tu veux quel stylo? Which pens do you want? Okay, they want to buy more than one house, you'll ask, quelle maison achetez-vous? That's how you'd use each of those quel. Okay, then we have how, which is comment. Let's say you want to ask someone, how do I get to the market? Okay, comment aller au marché? How do I get to the market, or how do I go to the market? Okay, then now maybe they can give you directions. Then how many or how much? Both of them, you'll say combien. You can say combien d'eau. So an example of a sentence, combien de stylos voulez? How many pens do you want, or would you like? How many pens would you like? Now, if you want to say how much, you can say an example that's very common, or an example of a sentence that you probably will be using if you go to a shop. You can ask, ça coûte combien? Ça coûte combien? How much does this cost? Because money in English, we'd say how much. In French, we just use the same word combien or combien de. So this is not to say that combien de is how many and then combien is how much. No, it's just the sentence that allows me to use combien in this part, but then combien de in this part. So this same sentence, how much does it cost? If I wanted to use combien de, I could say combien d'euros. Let's say we are using euros here. Let's start with ça. Ça coûte combien d'euros? That costs how much euros, or how many euros. Okay. Combien de can be used for how much, how many, and so on. Then another way of asking questions in French is using lequel. Here I have different forms how to say whose and whom in French. We have whose, you can say à qui, you can say de qui, you can say de quel, and you can say dont. Let's you give an example of a sentence. Cet stylo est à qui? Cet stylo est à qui? This pen belongs to who, or whose pen is this? Then example, vous parlez de qui? Vous parlez de qui? Who are you talking about? Okay. Who are you talking about? So it's qui. Then another example, and say la personne. Another example, you could say la personne dont je parle est lui. The person that I'm talking about is him. Okay. La personne dont je parle est lui. Okay. Then we have whom, which is lequel, laquelle, or lesquels. Or lesquels. This again, like the previous, which has masculine, feminine, and plural forms. So we have lequel, which is masculine singular, laquelle, which is feminine singular. Then we have lesquels, which is feminine plural, and lesquels, which is masculine plural. Okay. An example of a sentence, you can say le stylo lequel je veux est sur la table. The pen of which I want, I think that's not correct, but yeah, is on the table. Okay. Then another way of talking about, of asking questions in French is using negative interrogatives, which is specifically si in French. So si in this case means of course. Okay. This is not the si, because we have two forms of si in French. So this is not si, which means if. Okay. This is si, which means of course. So an example of a sentence, maybe someone asks you, tu ne vas pas au marché aujourd'hui? This is the question the person has asked you. You're not going to the market today. Then you want to respond with, of course I'm going. You'll say, si j'y vais. Okay? Si j'y vais, or in the long form, you can say si je vais au marché aujourd'hui. So you can either say si j'y vais aujourd'hui or si je vais au marché aujourd'hui, but this is very long. That's how you would use the negative interrogative form, which is si, to negate a sentence. Okay, just to summarize what we've covered, there are different ways of asking questions in French. The first one is by changing your intonation, having a rising information at the end of the sentence, and then using est-ce, and then using inversion of the subject and the verb, inverting the subject and the verb. And then we also have using the WH question words. Then we also have using lequel, and then using the negative interrogatives. Lastly, we have the negative interrogative si, which you use to ask questions, or to basically to say of course. So that's how you would ask questions in French in different forms. Okay, that's all for today. Okay, that's all. See you in the next video, and keep practicing to help you learn more and to master the skills that we've discussed. Bonne journée. Au revoir.